We are the nerds. We are the nerds of the apocalypse.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Nerds of the Apocalypse, and this video is going to be something a little bit different. Beth came to me with something, and I was like, I think it's something we could do. It's September 10th, and that's when I'm going to try to release this video. So it should be today if you watch it today, or it's in the past. It should not be in the future, because I'm going to try to wait and schedule it for September 10th. What is it, suicide?
World Suicide Prevention Day.
Right, so preventing suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And it's part of
National Suicide Prevention Week.
Oh, so maybe I'll put it out at the beginning of the week, so it's out all week. So,
that's true. We can do that.
So we can do that. So what's it all about?
Okay, I'll give you the information on it. The International Association for Suicide Prevention collaborates with World Health Organization and World Federation of Mental Health to host a World Suicide Prevention Day. I'm going to give you some facts on like how many people commit suicide and like how heavy it is and like one of the reasons why they're doing this. As of 2011, 1 million people per year die by suicide. That means every 40 seconds or 3,000 people every day.
Dang.
It is it's the 13th leading cause of death in the entire world. More people die from suicide than murder, terrorist attacks, or war. And they're predicting, unless something is done and improved, that by 2020 it's going to go up to 1.5 million. And all these figures do not include suicide bombers, which was a little tidbit, because they're saying like their goal isn't really suicide, it's to cause something.
Right, I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alright, so you've been clinically diagnosed, right, with depression?
Mm-hmm.
And depression is one of the biggest causes of suicide.
More or less.
More
I
or
wouldn't
less.
necessarily say it's the cause, it's a symptom of suicide.
Symptom of suicide, okay. What is your official diagnosis?
Major depressive disorder.
What does that mean?
Essentially, it's clinical depression. It means I have depressive episodes where, like, my symptoms are I either oversleep or don't sleep enough. My appetite changes. I have no enjoyment in anything whatsoever. I get really irritable. I cry about everything. I also have ADHD, which now they have learning in new studies. A lot of ADD and ADHD is connected with mental health because they kind of feed off each other.
Right.
And another thing with like my depression and ADHD, people with depression, they get overwhelmed by very small things when they're in a depressive episode. So things like build up. Like my house gets super messy when I'm depressed. And with ADHD, one of the problems is your mind has so many things going on at one time, you can't focus. So if I'm depressed and I have this mess, and my ADHD is causing me not to help that because I see all this stuff that I have to do and I can't focus on one thing. And it causes me to just freak out even more and then not get anything done, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
Okay. So have you ever gone to the hospital or anything?
I have been hospitalized for it. Between my freshman year of college and my sophomore year of college. Because I wasn't diagnosed with depression until freshman year of college.
What do they do when you're in the hospital?
Well, I didn't really go to the best of hospitals.
Uh-oh.
I don't really want to go into the incident, but there was an incident that happened, and I went to a counselor in Dillon, and she kind of saw me as a favor to my parents because she no longer counsels. She does like mission work in like South America, and she was talking to me, and she said, are you suicidal? Do you have a plan? And I was honest. I was like, I do have a plan. And she says, well, you need to go to the hospital. You need a break. And I almost didn't get in to the hospital because she called my mom in, and we were honest. We told her everything, and she said, I need you to take her home, go pack up all of her stuff, and this is the hospital, and you go drive her there. Well, when the counselor, she had to fight with them for 30 minutes because you're like, well, she's not suicidal. If you send her home with her parents, you're not worried about her.
Wow.
And she's like, I know her parents. They will not keep her out of their sight. She will not do anything because they are around. But I almost didn't even get into the hospital.
Wow. Do they put you on pills or anything?
Yeah. I was originally put on Prozac. And one of the problems was when I went home during the summer, I wasn't getting counseling. I wasn't taking my medication like I was supposed to. So it got really bad. But they upped my dose to 150 milligrams of Prozac, and they put me on a sleep aid to help me sleep. And one of the issues with being in the hospital, I was only in there for 5 days. That's all I was in there for. And it didn't take enough time for it takes, I think, about 2 weeks for it to get into your system and start working. So even though I was on medication, I was out of, like, a home situation. So it was good in that I got to take a break from life, but they didn't do anything to help me whatsoever. Like, my doctor, on my medical records, I am listed as living in Bishopville. We corrected him 3 times in sessions, and it is still on my medical record that I'm from Bishopville.
Wow.
And like I said, I got a break, and I got to, like, meet other people who have, like, mental disorders. It's, like, bipolar. We had an elderly woman that was in there. Like, it helped me that you see all walks of life and, like, different things, but at the same time, with depression, you're like, what do I have to be depressed about? And then you see people there that are worse off than you, and it kind of counteracts it. But one of my issues was, once I got home, I was on such a high dose of Prozac, like, I could not tell my dreams from reality. Like, I would wake up, and I would talk to my mom about stuff, and she's like, what are you talking about? That never happened. And I was sleepwalking and acting out my dreams in my sleep. And, like, I would get really dizzy, and I remember walking down my parents' hallway, and my knees were almost collapsing. I had to, like, hang on. So my mom called the doctor, the one who gave me the incorrect, like, information on the paperwork, and he doesn't think it's the medication. He flat out was like, I don't think it's a medication. I'm on 150 milligrams of a medication that affects your brain, and you don't think that's what it is? So I went to a family physician, and he knows my medical history, and he'll flat out say if it's weird, it's going to happen to me. So he put me on Paxil, and then I went back to seeing that counselor in Dillon, and that helped. But I'll go on with the medication a little later, with the connection in that.
Okay. How old are you when all this going on?
19.
Were you in college or anything?
It was a summer between. I got diagnosed in college, but it was summer between. The big dip happened.
Well, how did you went back to school, I'm assuming, after the summer, right? Mm-hmm. How did that work out?
Not good. I'll be honest. I went to USC, and I am very not happy with their mental health facility there whatsoever. I will call them out on that. Because I was seeing a student counselor, and it wasn't that she was bad. It's just that I could no longer see it, because once you're hospitalized, you have to see an actual counselor. Right. Well, my counselor really didn't talk to me about anything. Like, she talked to me. She talked at me, but she didn't talk to me or, like, with me about anything. Right. And, like, now I would know to leave her, but back then I didn't know you could say, well, I'm not working well with her. I can find somebody else, you know? Right. And then I had a nurse practitioner that prescribes your medication. And Heather can tell you, I'm always early from work. I'm always on time. And I'm that way with all my prescription visits. Well, I wrote down the wrong time. And I came during their lunch break. And then she took me in there, and she's like, you know, you not coming on time and not showing up for your appointment shows me that you're not trying and taking care of yourself.
Wow.
And I'm just thinking, this is the first time it's ever happened. You saw that I wrote down the wrong time in my calendar, and I've never done this before, and you're attacking me?
That helps, I bet.
That helps. Yeah. And then, you know, I get another nurse practitioner because that one leaves. And the only time she would look at me was to make sure that essentially I was matching her file work. She's like, are you suicidal? No, blah, blah, blah. And that was it. And then, you know, I was on the Paxil, but it wasn't working. So she gave me Wellbutrin as a booster. Well, it made me really sick. Like, I was shaky. I couldn't sleep. I was nauseous. I was throwing up. So I had an emergency session with a different nurse practitioner through USC. And she said, well, whatever's in Wellbutrin is also in Prozac. So you're sensitive to whatever that one chemical is. But instead of taking me off Wellbutrin, she just lowers the dose. And that's when my parents were like, nope, we're done. We will pay for you to go see a private practice because they're not doing what they're supposed to.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Were you with anybody at the time, like romantically?
At one point I was.
How's that go?
It didn't go well. Because, like, I was dating a guy. We were only together for 3 months. And, like, a month into it, I knew we should break up, that he wasn't a good complement to what was going on. Right. But you're so depressed, and you're thinking, well, no one's ever going to love me. I can't leave this guy. And luckily, he ended up breaking up with me, and it was fine. But that was one of the situations I was in.
Well, I think that with this case of depression, I think some people... Mm-hmm. I have to say that in my early years of life, I'm only almost 30, but before I got a knowledge of it, I think people take it and don't take it seriously. I think you're just being stupid, and to get over it, you just need to stop. Like, people don't quite understand that it's an illness because they don't experience it, they don't understand it, and they think because you're not like them that you should be like them, if that makes sense. And that's not the case at all. So I think that's what happens, and that might have sounds like what happens with him, is that's kind of the mentality you get, and you can't, if you don't understand it, then it's hard to comprehend it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I have a couple facts I want to put out there.
Oh, put out some facts.
Yeah. 19 million Americans each year are diagnosed with mental illness. It causes loss of pleasure in daily life, and it can complicate other medical conditions, and obviously it leads to suicide. And I like what they make clear here. It's never a normal part of life. And one of the things is people think that they can handle it themselves when they really can't, and it just gets worse.
I could see that too. You're trying to get over it yourself. You don't think that you need to see anybody, and it's best to see somebody.
And 70% of individuals with depression have a full remission with effective treatment. Like, I could say you've had full remission. I've had like a 2-year period where I was good, but it can go down like overnight. It really can. Oops. And just something I've learned, like, have you ever heard people say they're a manic depressive, or other people say this person's bipolar? That's the same thing.
Okay.
Manic depressive is an old term. I think bipolar started coming about as the new term for it in like the late 80s.
Bipolar is the new manic depressive.
Yeah.
Like orange is the new black.
Wow.
Well, you get it. So.
I get it, yeah.
And like some of the symptoms of depression is you're sad, you're anxious, or empty mood, sleeping too much, too little, middle of the night waking up, early morning waking up, reduced appetite or weight loss or increase, loss of pleasure, you're irritable, which I really get irritable when I'm starting. Not when I'm like down, but when I'm in that path of going down, I get super irritable.
Side fact about Beth.
It's kind of fun to watch at work, though, because she gets irritable.
She does get irritable when she's hangry, too. We learned that at comic conventions. Sorry, go ahead.
Persistent physical symptoms that do not respond to treatment, such as chronic pain or digestive disorders. Difficulty concentrating, remembering, or making decisions. Which I'll get back to that, because I actually got diagnosed with ADHD pretty late, because they thought that was just, that right there was a symptom of my depression. Right. Fatigue or loss of energy, feeling guilty, and thoughts of suicide or death. And 3.4% of people with depression commit suicide.
It doesn't have to be all those things at once, too. Like, if you feel any of those things, it could be, you could have an issue. I think we're gonna add some links into the video, the information. If you feel this way, somebody you can talk to. We'll find something, right? Like I think we got
there's
some
hotlines.
Yeah, we got some stuff. We'll put a phone number on a website. We'll put 2 things down so people can use.
And there's like different levels. There's like people who do have depressive episodes, but they're not considered clinically depressed, even though they do need some help. There's clinical depression. There's people, it's seasonal. I forget what the A stands for, disorder, and they only kind of get depressed during the winter. It's different things.
Well, that makes sense, because I've seen that, and I don't want to say that I've experienced it, but I may have experienced it over the winter, like, because I definitely, especially last year. But there's a couple of things going on in my life. Me personally, I've what am I talking about? Looked for the help from a counselor. I have a thing at work. Yeah. I have a thing at work, so I'm in the process of doing that. So it's nothing crazy, but
most people get it during the winter because you're not out outside as much. So they're not getting sunlight.
Yeah.
Vitamin D is good for you.
Yeah. And I kind of have that during the summer because I'm not a hot weather person at all. So I don't go outside as much during the summer. So I get it during the summer.
It makes a lot of sense, because I worked second shift at the place for a while, and about 2 years, and close to the end of the second year, I almost had like a nervous breakdown because of a bunch of stuff piling on at once. So that makes a lot of sense, the sun thing. Alright, so not really for fun, but kind of for fun, you sent me a list of things not to say to a depressed person. So I looked over this list already, and if you know the person is depressed, it seems like really ignorant things to say, but I guess it's here because people say it.
Reality is some people, they don't understand that it's...
That's what I meant.
I'll put it this way. The first counselor I had that actually helped me, she said, you need to look at your depression as an addiction, or people who have addictions.
Right.
You have it forever. You always have to work on it. And at the end of the day, you really can't control it. Meaning you have to take either medications or you have to do the talk therapy. People like addictions do. Like, it's always a constant thing you have to work on. It doesn't just go away.
All right. So here's a couple things right here. You just need to give yourself a kick in the rear. Get out of it. Get up. That's something you shouldn't say. No one ever said life is fair, Beth. God. There are a lot of people worse off than you.
Those two are my favorites because you can have everything going for you in the world and you will be depressed because it's your brain. It's, you know what I mean? It's just the chemicals in your brain are not reacting like they're supposed to.
Well, everyone gets depressed sometimes. God. Maybe you should take vitamins for your stress. Yeah, that'll do. I'm convinced vitamins are like false. They don't do anything for you. You need a hobby to get your mind off stuff.
Well, that's kind of funny because one of the symptoms of depression is you don't like your hobbies anymore. You don't want to do them.
Well, then, Beth, maybe you just need to pull yourself together and just try a little harder. Okay? You have no reason to feel this way. You will be okay. Just hang in there. It will pass. It'll be over soon. You don't like feeling that way, so change it. Don't feel your feelings, okay? Okay. You have it so good. Why aren't you happy? God. I thought you were stronger than that.
Wow, that helps.
I know.
F you.
Snap out of it, will you? Things said to me by... Oh, this is things that have actually been said to you.
These are things friends have actually said to me when they know I'm in a depressive episode.
Here, Heather, I want you to say these things.
Where are we?
This one right here.
Wow. Are these people still your friends?
I don't want to say those
Did
things.
I say these?
No, you didn't say a single
The other
one.
one, the things
I think I just offer you food and forks.
the things I was saying, and Vader's gonna offer you his football that doesn't squeak anymore.
You're just doing this for attention. I think your apologies are fake. I think yours are too, bitch. You can't handle what's called being an adult. Jeez. No good guy is ever gonna want you because your parents still help you, and you have a retail job. Jeez.
To Betsy.
I'm tired of hearing about your same stupid little problems. Well, then, bye.
Bye, Felicia.
You don't want to get better. You think I can solve your problems, but I can't. You're right. So, like,
And one of the reasons I kind of kept that last one in there is I've noticed when talking to other people with depression, people don't understand you're just trying to vent to them.
Right.
You just want them to listen. I don't want any advice.
yeah.
I don't need anything. I just need you to listen. And sometimes I do talk about the same stuff over and over because doing it out loud kind of helps me process things and help. And like I remember, like, I know you can't solve my problems. I just need you to listen. But some people just cannot understand that.
Right. So here's some positive things you can say to people with depression. Or no, some positive facts about people with depression. That you could tell people these if you know someone's with depression.
They're not fact checked though. I didn't look to see if these were
so
actually true, but I do kind of see
Use
where
discretion.
it could be.
Know your person.
People with depression are usually smarter than the average person, have a better perspective of the world, see situations more realistically. I can sort of see that. The problem is you seem too realistically, I think. It gets to you. People diagnosed with ADHD thrive in disruptive situations, 3 times more likely to form their own business. Embrace adventure, adapt at multitasking. People diagnosed with bipolar disorder 4 times as capable in art. Intensive creative level, increased ability in observing. People diagnosed with anxiety. High levels of empathy and able to understand others' pain and understand things on deeper levels, doubly strong levels of intuition accuracy compared to the way I just spoke. It's not very accurate. And here are some things to help. You want to read that? Ways to help someone who is depressed.
Help them keep clutter at bay. Daily routines get overwhelming, so it isn't...
I'm coming to your house to clean.
So, clean here first.
Oh, sorry.
So it doesn't get done and just piles up. Help create a calm environment.
Essentially, a cluttered environment reflects a cluttered mind.
Gotcha.
Although some people do well. Like, I do well with a mess, but there's a difference between a mess and then a depressed mess.
There's an organized mess and there's just stored shit.
Yeah.
Fix them a healthy meal. Oh. Fix you junk food.
There you go.
Depression can cause overeating or undereating, whoops, and cause more fast food eating, whoops.
Oh.
Because there's no energy to cook. Cook a meal that is healthy, brain diet, and the act shows you care.
That's
I mean, you can still take someone out for dinner.
Yeah.
The brain diet is actually something I've done before, and I've noticed, like, a slight improvement. It could be placebo, but placebo works, you know?
Yeah.
It's foods that are high in fish, high in greens, and high in nuts. So you want to eat a lot of, like, omega fatty acids.
All those things you don't like.
Like, you want to eat a lot of things that have fatty acids, because they've done studies, and they think fatty acids really help, like, just the brain in general.
Right.
And I have noticed a difference when I was eating more of that. But fish gets so boring. There's only so many ways you can cook fish.
Put bacon on it. Get them outside. Getting sun for vitamin D helps alleviate symptoms. Also, getting hands in the soil can help symptoms. There's a strain of bacteria in the soil that helps release serotonin to the brain. That's probably what I'm allergic to.
What, working outside?
I'm allergic to a certain type of bacteria in dirt.
You're allergic to dirt?
Bacteria in dirt that break out in hives.
Like, I really enjoy gardening and stuff, and that kind of explains why I like it so much. If my hands are in the dirt, I'm getting serotonin.
Feel it.
Right, keep going.
Ask them to help you understand what they're feeling. Don't have them explain why, but what.
That's one thing. People are like, why are you depressed? And sometimes you don't have a reason. And you shouldn't really have to explain why. It's like, this is what I'm feeling. And that way, if you know what they're feeling, you can try to kind of help them.
Right.
Encourage them to focus on self-care, not just psychologists, but going to the dentist, haircuts, or pedicures. These things don't happen, and people start to feel, I'm a mess, no one will ever love me. Spa day. I'm down.
Spa day, mud bath. Boom!
But that's a lot of things, like psychologists and your counselors, they look at your physical appearance. And, like, if you look unkempt, then they know something's obviously not right. Like, I used to have my prescription refill appointments on truck day. And I finally had to tell her, listen.
That's a bad day.
Especially if I'm doing, I was like, listen, I really am doing well. I was in 102-degree heat moving boxes around for over an hour. This is why I look so gross. I promise I'm okay.
Hug them. Study shows hugs lasting longer than 20 seconds release happy chemical to the brain. Touching from loved ones in general releases good chemical to the brain. Just know where not to touch them.
Yeah.
Meaning, I don't like being touched in the face, so don't touch me in the face for 20 seconds.
Oh my god, I'm fighting the urge to grab your face right now. Go ahead, keep going.
Laugh with them. Watch funny movies or watch comedians. Laughing makes anyone feel better.
That is true.
Reassure them that you can handle their feelings. Their up and down moods make them feel they will scare people off and never be loved.
You know, and I don't know if any of this is the case, but sometimes you don't come on the podcast. You're the only person that I don't just berate for not coming on. Like Bennett, he didn't show up the other week, and I haven't given it to him. And I was like, we're recording again, but I doubt you're going to show up for it. But if you want to, it's Sunday at 12. But on all seriousness, it's because I know things like this, and I just totally understand.
Well, yeah. Well, and she's honest with herself and knows. And so just, I can't do it today. I'm not going to do it today. And she's like, okay. And then we'll, give you half of shit.
I don't give a shit.
Alright, fine, yeah. Challenge their destructive thoughts. I'm unlovable, I'm a failure, I'm ugly, I'm stupid. Challenge these untruths with truth. You're not unlovable, I love you. You aren't a failure, here are all the things you've accomplished. Like, I may work retail, but I work for the highest paying retail, so...
I think the only thing I gave Beth the most crap for is when she totally went to IHOP without everybody. At the con.
You weren't wanted.
That is not it at all.
Sorry, that completely negates number 9. Number 10, remind them why you love them. There wasn't examples of that.
I'll be done. Alright, is there anything else you want to finish with?
I did want to put out there that not only do you need to find a good counselor and a good person that prescribes your medication, you honestly need to find a good pharmacy. And one of the examples is I learned this. I take 50 milligrams of Paxil. They only make it in 25 milligram pills, so I have to take 2 pills essentially. But my insurance company only covered 30 pills a month.
Oh.
Not 30 days of your
Right.
prescription, 30 pills. So when I went there, the pharmacist was like, listen, we're going to go ahead and give you these 30. We're going to have to argue with your company. And he called me every day to let me know what was happening. And it took him 4 days of arguing with the insurance company to finally get them to cover it all and not charge me for it.
Wow.
That's why, even though we have closer pharmacies, I still go to the Garner's Ferry Target because they're always wonderful. Like, every time. And another thing is, mental health care is really expensive. Like, super expensive. And I'm very lucky that I have parents that not only can help me, but do help me. Like, I pay for my doctor's appointments, but they pay for my medications. And it used to be they had to pay for everything. And we've recently learned that with the new Obamacare stuff, that if you work for a company that employs more than 30 people, but you're going somewhere where they don't take your insurance, me and my parents are actually doing this file work, so I don't know all the details of it, but you have to get all of your receipts and you send it to the insurance company, and they have to cover at least 10% of it.
Oh, wow. That's good.
So essentially you still have to pay for it all at your visit, but they refund it back to you.
Right.
But they could end up covering more, but they do have to do at least 10% of it.
Okay. That's good to know. Alright, see? You're throwing some facts out here.
But I think most people understand is that depression is work. It really is a fight all the time. And it's like I said earlier, like they said, connect it with addictions. It's the same thing. Like, you have to accept that you have an issue and you really want to get better before anything can.
Right.
Because that was one of my biggest things. Like, outside of just bad counseling, it really took a long time for me to finally realize I'm just someone who can't wake up every day happy. I have to have a medication. I have to constantly talk to someone to keep from getting down.
So at the end of the day, don't be a douche to someone who has depression. And
Can I interject? I'm sorry, because you sound like you're about to wrap up, and I want to...
okay, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
There's a lot of people who will try to fix it with religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I get faith and, the joy of the Lord is in your heart and all that. And I know that you've been to church and you've been really heavy in that and stuff. How did that...
Well, I'm lucky that I go to a church that understands depression. They don't think the devil has done something bad to you and you need to fight the devil. They actually have counselors there. And okay, I'll put it this way. I have read where people are no longer religious because their churches have told them
To pray the depression away?
to either pray it away or it's you letting the devil in. They're like, oh, you're not supposed to be depressed. That's you going against God is you having depression. And luckily, I have not had that from my church whatsoever. But I remember I picked up this book, and it was supposed to be how Christianity can help you with your depression. And she flat out says you need to stop taking your medication and just pray. And if you really want it to go away, God will make it go away.
Wow.
And that is far from true. You can pray every day for it to go away. But if God wants you to have it for the rest of your life, you're going to have it for the rest of your life. And essentially, anyone who goes to a church and they say depression is your fault, and they don't want you to continue to go to church and pray, but they say don't, go to counseling and medications, then you need to stop going to that church because they don't get it. They're not good Christians. They're not. That's just how it is.
It's still an illness. You can.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Depression isn't a physical illness. Like, you don't see someone hobbling around when they have depression like you would a broken leg or a spinal injury.
Right.
It's all inside. And that's why a lot of people just don't understand that it's actually a real thing. Kind of like ADHD and ADD. A lot of people think it's just bad children. Reality is, it's a real thing. And my sister was a teacher, and she said you can tell who actually has ADHD, who just needs a little bit more attention, and who needs a spanking.
Boom!
But people are just so quickly to shove medications on you that they don't want to fix the problem.
Take these pills.
That's essentially what the hospital did. Take these pills and get out.
Wow. All right, does anybody... Can we wrap up? Or
Yeah, go ahead.
Good?
You can wrap it up now.
We good? You good?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'll go back to what I said before. Don't be a douche to someone who is in depression. And if you're someone who's suffering depression and your friends are being a douche to you, maybe you should... I know it's completely branch out, find new friends, kind of the opposite of what you're dealing with, but it just might not be good to deal with that person when you're going through what you're going through at the time, because they're not helping you, they're hindering you. And you shouldn't hinder anybody.
And if you know someone that's a friend that's depressed, just ask them about it.
Yeah.
And don't force them to tell anything they don't want to tell. Just ask them, know.
That's it. It's okay. And like I said, we'll have all the information below. I'll have a number call. Let's find a number call and a website, and to get if you need help. You can always. I'm throwing this out there. If you send the Nerds of the Apocalypse a Facebook message because you're depressed, I will talk to you, and we'll become friends. Nice. Beth will talk to you too. I'll make her talk now.
I'd be happy to talk to anybody.
Yeah, because we don't. That's a terrible thing, and we want to help as best we can. So we'll leave it at that. And I don't know. And this is Elena. Yeah. So I guess we'll end it like we normally do. I'm Stevie B.
I'm Heather.
Beth.
Nerds of the Apocalypse, and we're out. And we're also here for you.